Some women are persuaded to kill under the spell of an evil man.
It was horrendous, absolutely horrendous.
Charles Manson turns hippie girls into bloodthirsty killers.
I think she really enjoyed writing in the blood of her own murder victim.
A vulnerable single mom falls for the wrong guy.
Who would have thought a woman would commit a crime so brutal?
And a dark devotion leads to sadistic child murders.
This little girl screaming for a mummy and asking to go home. It was awful.
These are deadly women who don't act alone. They're under an evil influence. At a busy English railway station, a police investigation leads to a baggage room. Inside an ordinary suitcase, horrifying secrets.
In it, there was a gun, a kosh, various sex magazines, a copy of Mein Kampf. But the most damning and most important piece of evidence was a tape, a 1/4-inch reel tape.
On the tape, a terrified girl begs for her life.
This little girl is asking not to be tortured, screaming for a mummy and asking to go home. It was awful.
A woman's voice can also be heard, torturing a young child to death. Her crimes will shatter a nation's innocence. Her name is Myra Hindley.
What Myra Hindley did was evil. There is absolutely no doubt that Myra Hindley was the most reviled woman in Britain.
Manchester, England, the early 60s. 19-year-old Myra Hindley is a quiet secretary, infatuated with co-worker Ian Brady.
Myra was looking for someone to pull her out of her boring existence. And for her, Ian offered that.
Soon, Ian Brady initiates Myra into his dark world. Brady flirts with Nazism and is a sadist. He gets sexual pleasure from the sufferings of others.
She was ready to enter a sexually sadistic, sadomasochistic relationship with Brady. It didn't take much doing.
He could teach her things she couldn't learn anywhere else. And she wanted to learn.
Brady's deepest fantasies will give Myra the ultimate test of her love.
He'd already begun fantasizing about crimes against children and fantasizing about committing the perfect murder. What he needed was someone to help him act that out, and that person was Myra Hindley.
Myra made the leap from sadistic sexual fantasies to reality because she wanted to please Ian, and she wanted to show Ian how adventurous she was.
They became, in a way, a sort of Bonnie and Clyde couple. Each lived for the other.
As a young Manchester journalist, Clive Entwistle wrote about Myra Hindley.
She was desperate to fulfill his fantasies, his needs. She was frightened, I suspect, of rejection by him.
On a cool Friday night, a teenage girl heads to a local dance.
Brady had decided that he wanted to kill. Paulie Reed was their first victim.
16-year-old Pauline Reed knows Myra and her family.
Myra offered to give her a lift and said to her in the vehicle, "By the way, I've lost the glove on the moors. Would you like to come with me and help me look for it?" And that's how they got Pauline to the moors.
The moors above Manchester were a special place for Ian Brady and Myra Hindley. They'd picnic there together. They'd have sex there. It was a very, very important place to them.
Tonight, it's Pauline's time to die here. Because she trusts Myra.
Ian Brady was awkward. He was not the kind of person a child would trust. There's no way they'd have got into a car with him.
Without Myra, he would never have become the mass killer that he did.
On the barren hillside, their depraved fantasies are unleashed. Pauline is brutally raped, tortured, and murdered.
When a sadist abducts someone and tortures them, the most important part of that for them is the actual suffering of the victim. The moaning, the crying.
Criminal profiler Candice DeLong knows what drives a sadistic killer.
By the time the victim finally becomes unconscious, oftentimes what we see is that is when the offender kills them, and kills them quickly. For them, the party's over.
Under his wicked spell, Myra silently watches her lover until Pauline's body is completely buried. One of the clues to Myra's sadistic nature lies in her past. She's exposed to violence from an early age. Her father, Bob, boxing champion and barroom brawler, is a hard man.
He used to beat her a lot. Her father was a very, very powerful influence on her life.
What happened to you?
She'd had basically a very tough personality type to start with.
Keep him up. No, you do it to me.
If you then combine that with a violent childhood, a childhood in which someone is taught how to fight, how to be aggressive,
Hit me, Lou. Come on.
then you end up with an unusual personality type.
No. That's what I'm talking about.
Myra fell in love with Ian because she was comfortable with violent, explosive men. In fact, she was attracted to them. For her, Ian equaled daddy, and she always wanted daddy's love.
It's a love that Myra will kill for.
The bringing together of Myra Hindley and Ian Brady unleashed an appalling set of criminal acts.
In Manchester, England, a young teenage girl has been kidnapped, sexually tortured, and murdered.
The fact that children were being abducted and killed was incomprehensible to the ordinary man and woman in the street.
Even more shocking, one of the killers is a woman in the thrall of a dangerous man.
Myra may have gone through her life and never been a sadistic person, but once she hooked up with someone and fell in love with him, and that was his idea of how life would be, it was hopeless.
Myra Hindley herself admitted that if she hadn't been there, Ian Brady wouldn't have been able to kill. So without Myra, these crimes wouldn't have happened.
Out on the lonely English moors, Myra has collected another victim. a young boy, to satisfy her lover's sexual fantasies.
Keith was a cheeky little lad, who liked to go out and have fun.
12-year-old Keith Bennett is one of 4 children Myra and Ian will bury here. Keith's mother is Winnie Johnson.
I'm a mother. It was my first lad, and I've got to find him, no matter what.
Keith's body has never been found.
I've had nightmares, I jump in my sleep. It's getting to me now, because I just can't get him back.
Winnie will never forgive Myra Hindley.
She shouldn't be on this earth. She shouldn't even be in heaven. She should be in bloody hell as far as you can send her.
While Winnie Johnson holds on to her memories, Myra and Ian create their own. Their photos hold a grim secret.
Myra, you ready?
A tiny body lies beneath Myra's feet.
Myra and Ian returned to the crime scenes. The question is, why are they returning? In the case of a sadist, they return to relive the memories.
That's a good one, Nettie.
But photos aren't enough. The sadistic couple want to record the sounds of torture and murder. One victim is a 10-year-old girl, Leslie Ann Downey.
And they took her back to Wardlebrook Avenue, where he photographed her.
Shut up! You're not going anywhere!
And recorded her being killed.
Your mother. Stop it! You're gonna make him mad. You wanna make him mad.
With an audio tape, he could relive the screaming, the begging, the pleading, and get turned on all over again.
Cold, confident, and insatiable, Myra and Ian's killing spree becomes bolder.
So he started to take these slightly mad risks, if you looked at what had happened before and how carefully planned he'd been.
Dirty little bastard.
Their next victim, Edward Evans, is invited to his own death
This one's been the messiest one yet.
in their living room.
Evans was 16, 17, and he picked him up in a pub in Manchester.
They also invite Myra's brother-in-law, Dave Smith, thinking he'll join them.
Smith had no idea. He walked into it totally cold, totally unaware, and suddenly found he was involved in the most horrific scene with blood all over the place, a man's head being smashed in.
The killers have taken one risk too many.
Hey?
Afraid for his life, Dave Smith calls the police.
Yes, may I speak to the police?
Edward Evans' body is discovered in Ian and Myra's home, along with a clue that will expose Myra and her lover as sadistic serial killers.
Well done, Constable. Constable, I want everything logged. And I'm looking
A
for
left
anything
luggage
related
ticket
to other people.
leads to a shocking treasure trove.
Listen to this one later.
They kept trophies in suitcases, which were then, after their arrest, found at Manchester Central Station. And in there, of course, was a tape recording of Leslie Ann Downey, and that proved what they'd done.
Did you not hear me the first time when I said to shut your face and listen to what he says?
I want to go home, please.
Be quiet. Do you not speak English?
When they played the tape in court, you could have heard a pin drop. You could. Nobody moved. Nobody said anything. Afterwards, there was a long, stony silence as people reflected on what they'd just heard.
The suitcase contains other gruesome souvenirs, gravesite photos. Now, police know where to search.
For over 3 weeks, the police searched the moors. As I arrived, they had just excavated Leslie Ann Downey's body. And there were no such things as body bags in those days. I looked in and saw
Despite their denials, the evidence is overwhelming. In May 1966, Myra Hindley and Ian Brady are jailed for life for 5 horrific murders.
Hindley, if she had said, I was under his influence, and I was afraid he'd kill me if I didn't carry it out, could probably have ended up giving evidence against Brady and walked free. But she didn't. She just sat, cold-faced, and wouldn't say a word.
It takes Myra 20 years to admit to the killings. In 2002, she dies in jail of respiratory failure. After her funeral, Myra Hindley's ashes are scattered over the wild moors, where she and Brady made love and killed.
I think it's very difficult to say, was Myra Hindley sick or was she evil? She had a violent father. She met a sexually sadistic man who desperately wanted to be a serial killer. All those things came together and made her carry out some evil, appalling crimes.
Some women kill out of a perverted love. Others murder under a deadly illusion. Southern California, 1967. The summer of love is in full swing. At a hazy hippie party, one man dominates the room.
We were all searching for something, and they were searching for something, and they apparently found it in him.
18-year-old Susan Atkins is drawn to the charismatic stranger playing guitar.
I think for Susan, Charlie was finally the man who saw how wonderful she really was. And together, they could do great things.
Susan is being seduced by Charles Manson.
Charles Manson, if nothing else, is a master manipulator of people. He ran into all these young people who were very naive and looking for something different than what their families and society could offer them. He knew that, and he used that to manipulate them.
At 32, Charles Manson has already spent half his life behind bars. Prison has taught him how to manipulate and how to con.
He played on people's weak points. He was con smart. He learned in prison how to play people, and he played on all these girls.
Teenage runaway Susan Atkins is searching for a better life.
Susan Atkins was probably the most troubled of the young women. She had been arrested, she had run away from home, and she really was kind of a discarded person. She was looking also for an answer in her life, and it came from Manson.
At Manson's trial, reporter Linda Deutsch saw another young woman who fell under his dark influence.
Patricia Krenwinkel was she was kind of a lost soul when Charlie Manson found her. She had had some drug problems, and as she would tell it, she met this magical man who played a guitar and who lured her into his spell.
She comes across a man who is an expert at manipulating women. She didn't stand a chance.
All those watchers, we don't need them. Tom isn't needed. See, everything's a play act. Everything's like a movie. I want you guys to
Charles
like
Manson used a few things to influence and control the people that eventually became his family.
Tom isn't needed.
One of them was drugs. Another one was he fed into the part of their ego that needed someone to accept them and to guide them. The other thing he used was the permissive attitude at the time.
Manson uses mind control.
He's been in there too long.
Say, Kate.
He is rewiring his cult to commit a crime that will shock the world.
They had been so completely and thoroughly brainwashed by Manson that they did whatever he wanted them to do.
His followers must murder and show no mercy.
I'm not gonna give you any mercy, bitch!
Los Angeles, August 1969. On a hot summer's night, a bloody chapter in history is about to be written by Charles Manson.
The Manson murders were the most shocking crimes that had hit Los Angeles. The people who were killed were famous.
But Manson won't do the killing. His girls will murder under his evil influence.
You round people up. You come with me.
With the help of fellow cult member Tex Watson. Tex is a college football star.
The devil.
Tonight, in a mansion high in the Hollywood Hills, he's the devil. Susan Atkins and Patricia Krenwinkel are the devil's helpers, eager to kill 5 famous strangers.
Sharon Tate was a beautiful and famous actress, wife of director Roman Polanski. There was Jay Sebring, who was a very famous hairdresser. Abigail Folger, who was an heiress to a coffee fortune.
For the victims, it's a night of unimaginable horror. At the hands of Manson's followers. Patricia wasn't born bad, just vulnerable. Manson molds her into a cold-hearted killer.
Patricia Krenwinkel said that she chased down Abigail Folger on the lawn of the house. Patricia, who had a knife and who ultimately stabbed her to death.
Susan saves actress Sharon Tate to last.
It was quite chilling, quite unbelievable.
No!
She told of Sharon Tate pleading for her baby's life.
No, I'm not gonna give you any mercy, bitch!
And said that she told her, "Shut up, I don't want to hear about it."
Finally, using Sharon Tate's own blood, Susan scrawls the word pig. The Tate murders are part of Manson's insane prophecy. Helter Skelter.
Helter Skelter was basically a race war between blacks and whites in the United States. Charlie felt that whoever won, he was going to be the leader.
But it wasn't happening fast enough for him. So he instructed his followers to go into these affluent neighborhoods and murder these people.
The night after the Tate killings, Manson wants to murder again. Yet another young woman will help him. 19-year-old Leslie Van Houten, a little girl lost.
Leslie Van Houten was the most unlikely Manson family member. Leslie was very beautiful. She was a homecoming princess in her hometown of Monrovia, and she would have been something wonderful had she not gotten into drugs.
Leslie played a very active part in the murder at the LaBianca home.
Manson and Tex Watson have tied up the victims. Supermarket owner Lino LaBianca and his wife, Rosemary. Manson wants to trigger a race war by making it appear that African Americans are slaughtering wealthy white victims. Tex and the girls fulfill his evil plan. Leslie Van Houten, homecoming queen, helps stab Rosemary to death.
She talks about stabbing Rosemary, but doesn't really seem to accept the responsibility for the death. Sort of Rosemary was dead, and I just kind of did it. Rosemary was stabbed dozens of times.
Let's go. Come on.
The word war is carved into Lino LaBianca's flesh.
It was horrendous, absolutely horrendous.
Once again, bloody words are smeared to spark a race war. But Helter Skelter never eventuates. Manson's madness is ended by a prison boast. Jailed for another crime, Susan Atkins can't keep quiet about her part in the killings.
She was in jail on another charge, and she bragged to her cellmate about the murder she'd been involved in.
The Tate murders. The Tate murders.
This boastfulness actually broke open the entire case.
Charles Manson and his followers are charged with murder over the Tate and LaBianca killings.
When he was on the stand, he said that he had learned something important in prison. He had learned to tell people what they wanted to hear about themselves. And that was his magic. If you wanted to hear you were beautiful, he told you were beautiful. If he wanted to hear you were smart, he told you were smart. That was how he lured people into his web.
In April 1971, Charles Manson, Leslie Van Houten, Susan Atkins, and Patricia Krenwinkel are sentenced to death.
But the death penalty was outlawed shortly after, and all of the sentences were commuted to life.
Behind bars, the women are finally freed of Manson's mind control.
Well, all of them were remorseful in the end. I think that once they were isolated from Manson, They basically detoxed in prison from this brainwashing they had been under.
It's very sad to see how many lives were wasted, let alone the murder victims. These women are rotting away in prison because they allowed themselves to be influenced by Charles Manson.
Melbourne, Australia, 2005. A summer's day full of promise shines down on a car full of dark secrets.
There was a rancid smell coming from the car. It was quite a warm day.
The abandoned vehicle arouses the suspicions of a park worker. Inside the trunk, a grisly find.
No one could have heard her cries for help. She had no chance.
There's another surprise. After 5 days locked in the trunk, the woman is still alive.
Hello? Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
I couldn't believe that she was alive, but she was.
What will shock everyone is who did this and why.
Who would have thought a woman of that profile could commit a crime so brutal and cold?
Tanya Herman is looking for love. The 36-year-old has a young daughter and 2 failed marriages.
Tanya was basically a hard-working single mum who was unfortunately vulnerable to manipulation.
Some people are highly susceptible to being influenced by others because they lack a basic, solid core of their own personality.
A simple mouse click changes Tanya's life in ways she can never imagine. It's a singles ad for a wealthy construction boss named Joe. But journalist Carly Crawford knows the real Joe is a devious serial womanizer.
Joe Corp was a basically deceitful character. His life was one lie after another.
Hello, beautiful. How are you?
Joe Corp is actually married with 2 children and deep in debt. On their first date, he seduces Tanya with promises of love and a life together.
He was certainly a very engaging personality, but a dangerous one at the same time.
It seemed to be that it didn't matter how ridiculous some of his requests were.
What's this? Put it on for me.
She was more than willing to do anything to please him.
Beautiful. I'll take some photos. Go on.
Detective Jamie Cookson saw how far Tanya fell under Joe's spell.
She was totally infatuated with Joe Corp.
Put your head out. That's it. That's it. Okay. Yeah.
Tanya was under Joe's control because that's exactly where she wanted to be.
Beautiful.
Tanya didn't want to take responsibility for her own life, so she let herself be led.
Joe lets Tanya in on one of his secrets, a craving for group sex.
You're right there.
Something his wife Maria would never agree to.
Tanya was Joe's outlet to all of his sexual fantasies. Maria Corp was a very religious person. It was not the sort of thing that she would have been involved with.
When Joe's wife Maria discovers a photo of Tanya,
Who is that?
she threatens to end their marriage.
It's Daz's new girl.
Oh, why are you lying to me?
I'm not lying to you. I don't know her.
Joe tries to end the affair by sending a series of emails. Faking his own death.
That correspondence said that he died in a car accident in Barcelona.
But Joe changes his mind. He wants her back. And despite the heartbreaking lies, Tanya returns to his side.
It didn't matter how much Joe lied to her about things, she would always forgive him.
Joe's action of faking his own death to a woman who was deeply in love with him and then re-emerging and saying he was only injured was a master manipulation of her heart.
With Tanya hopelessly in his thrall, Joe comes up with a more sinister plan. He wants his wife, Maria, to die at the hands of Tanya.
To retain his affections, this is what she felt she needed to do. She felt she had no other choice.
In Melbourne, Australia, Joe Korp has lust in his heart and death on his mind. He wants his mistress, Tanya Herman, to kill his wife, Maria.
Joe obviously saw a way of keeping the money and keeping the house and keeping the girlfriend and having all of his fantasies fulfilled, basically having his cake and eating it too. But the only thing that was in the way there was Maria.
Joe plans everything down to the last detail. A swimming cap to prevent Tanya leaving hairs at the scene, and a bag strap to choke his wife to death.
Tanya would do anything for Joe, anything to keep him happy, including murder. The thought of losing Joe was intolerable.
Joe Korp lets Tanya into his garage to lie in wait for Maria. His chilling parting words.
And don't let the bitch come out of here alive.
If there was one question I could ask Tanya, it would be, did you wonder why your lover wanted you to kill his wife? Why wasn't he doing it?
Maria came out to get into her car in the garage to go to work as she normally did every other day. Tanya snuck up behind her, placed the bag strap over her neck and started to strangle her.
Tanya describes a feeling of detachment at this time. She felt like she was an outsider watching this horrific spectacle unfold before her. All that changed when Maria fell to the ground. Blood came out of her mouth. And Tanya suddenly had the shocking realisation that this is real. This woman is dead.
Scared, alone, Tanya's only thought is to get rid of her victim. Joe told her to dump Maria's body as far away from their home as possible. Then she hears sounds coming from the trunk.
Tanya Herman thought that while she was driving along the highway, she could hear moans.
Unconsciousness can occur very rapidly whenever there's compression of the blood vessels in the neck. Now, this would mean that her breathing would be so shallow and she was so limp that the perpetrator was not smart enough to check for a pulse to see if her heart was still beating.
As Maria gasps for breath, a panicked Tanya abandons the car in a quiet street.
Tanya Herman was manipulated, yes, but it doesn't excuse what she did. She killed a woman in cold blood. She knew what she was doing and she took steps to cover up the crime.
But Tanya's obsessive love has blinded her to other risks.
Joe had an alibi. He was at work when the crime took place. Tanya had no such alibi. Joe didn't supply her with one.
As police close in,
Hey, come over here, quick!
Joe becomes a prime suspect. He blames Tanya for the murder.
She was shocked.
Joe would never say that.
He's prepared to testify and he's prepared to stand up in court and say
She felt betrayed and she washed her hands of Joe from that moment.
Tanya murdered for love. Now she realizes that Joe's love is a lie.
I conducted an interview with her and she totally confessed to the whole thing.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
She realised that she'd been Joe Korp's patsy and that he was going to blame the entire thing on her and walk away free. So the love that she once had for him was well and truly gone by that stage.
Tanya Herman and Joe Korp are charged with attempted murder. Maria Korp never wakes from her coma and dies 5 months later.
On the day of Maria Korp's funeral, Joe attended the funeral. Later that night, he took a bag of ropes and personal diaries to his shed. And he hung himself.
Once Maria had died, we were going to upgrade the charges from attempted murder to murder against Joe Korp. So he took the coward's way out and committed suicide.
Tanya Herman is left to suffer the consequences of her actions. In July 2006, she is sentenced to 12 years in jail.
In many ways, there are two victims in this story. One was Maria Korp, the other was Tanya Herman. I think it's safe to say that had she not met Joe Korp, she would not be in jail now.
When these women were asked to kill, they all said yes. Myra Hindley slaughtered innocent children to satisfy her lover's perverted bloodlust. Charles Manson's women went on a bloody rampage, their minds in the grip of an evil preacher. And Tanya Herman took another life, believing it would better her own. These deadly women all became killers under an evil influence.